Hello everybody, I'm Selective. This will be part 4, chapter 4 of Susurrus of the Subdued, SOS. Namasa placed the thin manila folder for the recently started case on his desk. He pulled the black leather chair stationed behind the table out before sitting down. The detective then opened the file, looking at the papers within. The case was opened recently due to the rise of a new informant in the underground. They've been around for about 2 weeks now, selling information and going by the alias Deku. The file they had of the analyst contained little to no information besides the fake name, gender, and a grainy photo that was practically good for nothing. The photo was taken from a surveillance camera across the street from Kohai, a coffee shop located within Musutafu. It showed a male figure with green hair and a yellow bag exiting the store's doors. While the minuscule description was helpful, if the feed wasn't choppy to the point of obscuring things like his face or important identifiable features, it would actually be of use. So far, what they have is that he meets up with clients in places like coffee shops, hence how they even have a photo of the guy, and as much as the police would love to station every pro at one within a 10-mile radius of Musutafu, that would just allow other villains a chance to attack places or people. Furthermore, they know that he's sold to 3 villains so far. However, with how known he's become, that number might be far off. The first one they captured, Anakawa Nakai, was going through processing when they had found the packet. It was loaded with detailed information of the number 4 hero, the pages neatly organized and handwriting neat. The man hadn't given anything on Deku when questioned, only the name of the analyst and the fact that someone they knew would come after them if they gave out his information. The interrogation didn't last too long after that, the villain not having anything of value to his arrest or the informant's case. The second and third villain told the same thing, only this time they gave out their boss's name, Inaba Tomoki. That didn't help with anything besides a completely different case centered around a villain organization named Hinawa. So, in short, Deku was a mystery wrapped up in a riddle. Namasa sighed, leaning back in his chair. The analyst was smart and had apparently avoided detection for weeks, if not more, never letting too much information about them slip. Furthermore, they seem to have a villain institution wrapped around their finger to the point they're protecting him. Dragging a hand down his face, his gaze moved to the phone that sat in the corner of his neatly organized desk. His fingers tapped against the papers, mind racing. They needed to take down Deku as quickly as possible. The guy was dangerous, elusive, and intelligent. The detective had seen it firsthand through the guy's notes. So he knew that Deku was nothing to scoff at. If they wanted to arrest him quickly, they needed someone to match his intelligence. Picking up the black corded phone, Tsukauchi placed it on his ear. His finger moved off of the paper, the rhythmic tapping coming to an end in favor of punching in Nezu's number. The phone rang for only a few seconds before a cheery voice picked up. "Hello, Tsukauchi-san. To what do I owe the pleasure?" The man shifted in his seat, turning his head into his shoulder to hold the phone between the two appendages. His hands moved to the file, spreading out the few papers that filled it. "Nezu, a recent case that popped up might need your assistance in solving. The guy's dangerous and, going off what we've seen, incredibly smart." A hum sounded out from the rodent on the other end of the line. "In the information you have so far?" "Practically nothing." "A name, at least," Nezu added. "So far, they're going by Deku," the detective replied. The hybrid hummed once more, and Namasa could practically hear him nodding. "I can come over around school hours to take a look. If this case is as dire as you make it seem, then I don't mind helping at all." Nezu looked over the files in his paws, gaze scrutinizing. The information was just as minuscule as Namasa had said. The photo was grainy, and the information they had got was from a villain that let his gender slip. In all honesty, it wasn't helpful. The pages they had gotten off of one of the villains, though. "You said you had gotten a page of his analyses? the rodent asked. The detective nodded, pulling a few evidence bags off of his desk and handing them to him. Nezu took them graciously, looking through the clear side in order to read the writing. The mustelid's eyes shone with interest as he perused the papers. The information held within them was incredible, detailing things down to even the smallest of detail. Whoever this Deku person was, the detective was right. They were indeed intelligent. Nezu nodded, tail swaying lightly. I do not believe that whoever we're dealing with is older than 18 or younger than 10. Sukuuchi looked at his higher-up in surprise. I'm sorry? Nezu-san, you have to understand that this level of work is far too advanced for a child. They need years of practice, and even then... Unless they've been doing it for years. The hybrid piped up, moving to set the bags on a nearby chair. He then worked on pushing the stool over to a pinboard to the left of Namasa's desk as he continued. And I already know what you're thinking, Detective. That would be implying that a child has been honing a skill that is incredibly dangerous. He paused once the chair was into place, picked up the papers once more, and climbed atop the stool's surface. He then pulled a pin out of the corkboard, reaching up soon after. The rodent then pinned the bags to the board. With what I've got of the information provided, the man we're working against is nothing more than a child. His paw pads bent in so that just one was pointed out, and he used that pad to point to the sentences written on the displayed papers. The handwriting, for one, has a forced neatness. While that may just seem like any other professional mindset of a villain, there's parts where he does mess up. He pointed to one of the larger blocks of text. Right here, it resembles that of a child. Now, taking a closer look in this light, do you see it? Namasa's eyes squinted, looking at the section Nezu mentioned. A bit, but that's just going off speculation. He could just have messy handwriting when he gets excited. He leaned back, gesturing vaguely to the board. He's clearly passionate about this whole thing. That's not my only thing leading me to this conclusion. Nezu turned to look at his colleague, holding a paw out to motion for the folders containing the other information on Deku. The detective moved swiftly, pulling the thin stack of papers out of the folder before handing them to Nezu. The mustelid took them from the man with appreciation, moving to pin them on the board as well. Off of what we have gathered about the Hiniwana organization, the one Inaba-san runs, they're protecting him. While they're known for being villains, they're also recognized to be kinder towards children. If Deku was on the younger side, it would make more sense on why they keep him safe. After all, they don't hesitate to rout out each other when it comes to their colleagues. Nezu pointed to the photo next. And although the photo is on the more pixelated side, I could still make out the details of what he's wearing. Do me a favor, Detective, and lean in a bit more. Try to pick apart the colors, please. Namasa sighed, shuffling closer to look at the image. His eyes narrowed, brain slowly painting a picture in his mind. Socks? Indeed, the principal chirped, paws clasping together behind the small of his back. The detective turned his confused gaze to him, eyebrows pinched together in thought. I don't get it. It's childish, the rodent informed, tail giving a light sway behind him. Childish? Deku, a professional analyst, keep in mind, wearing a childish piece of attire wouldn't make sense if he were an adult. After all, going off the evidence, I can tell he wants to be professional. So, why would he wear a childish shirt to a meeting about selling analyses? The detective's eyes widened as he looked at Nezu. When it was put like that, it made sense. Of course, this is, like you said, all speculation. He finished, hopping off the chair. Let's hope for all our sakes that Deku is not one. Izuku stretched his arms above his head, fingers interlocked. His back arched and let out a few pops before he allowed it to bend back into the chair, slumping into it. The boy had just finished doing his analysis on Mirko, the number 6 hero, for a client. He had filled around 6 pages of information for them, but somehow still itched to do more. Looking back to his laptop screen, Izuku's eyes zeroed in on the clock. The time was only around 7. He had time for one more session. Flipping to a new page in his notebook, the boy's hands flew across the keyboard, searching the number 2 hero's name. When the links for Endeavor finally showed up, Deku clicked on the first one that popped up. It was an article detailing his life, which wasn't exactly what Izuku needed, but he was desperate, just wanting to satisfy that buzz of needing to do something in the back of his mind. In a logical sense, if the boy were to do a full analysis on him, life history and all, eventually he'd get tired enough for the urge to fade and his body to crave for rest. Pressing 2 of his fingers down onto the mousepad, Izuku scrolled through the site until his eyes locked onto a heading entitled Major Events. His gaze then moved across the words, taking them in while occasionally letting it flick towards his notebook to write something down. He continued this process several times until he got to the event entitled Sokoto Peak. His eyebrows furrowed slightly as he read, pencil slowly coming to rest on the notebook. His hand absent-mindedly shut his book and pushed it to the side, while the other pulled the laptop closer. The article detailed the death of Todoroki Toya, Enji's oldest child. It stated how the fire was caused by the boy's quirk going out of control, and how he wasn't ever resistant to it in the first place. In Izuku's mind, that already raised red flags. If he wasn't fire-resistant, why would he have been using his power at all? Endeavor should have made sure the child wasn't using his quirk unsupervised. Furthermore, the text tells how, although the fire was quickly put out, they found no remains of the number 2 hero's son. The look of confusion on Izuku's face grew as he swiftly made to type the Todoroki's name into the search bar. He wanted to look into the boy's quirks since in the past fire-related incidents that he's looked into, in terms of quirks, typically a skeleton was left behind. When a person is the user of a pyrokinesis-type power, their bodies typically mutate in order to accommodate it. Things like a warmer body temperature, tougher skin, and heat resistance becomes the norm for them. However, in the case of Toya, it seems like he wasn't given that aspect of heat resistance. Despite this, he should still have 1, a warmer body temp, and 2, a heat-resistant skeleton. The reasoning for the Green Child's conclusion is the fact that the Todoroki is even able to use his quirk at all. Quirks reside in the core, or otherwise known as the heart or brain, depending on the type of power. When one is activated, it causes the nerves in one's body to react and provide a sensation related to the quirk. When it comes down to fire-type quirks, the user will experience high spikes, similar to that of the heat fire gives off, in body temp. If he was fully unable to withstand high heats that fire would provide, the moment he attempted to use his quirk, he'd essentially be cooked from the inside out. If his body was even the slightest bit fire resistance, the ability to use his quirk would be possible, as his form wouldn't degrade. The reason for this being that his body would be able to stand the heat it generates during use internally. The external part, however, is a different story for the man. The outside of his body seems to be that of an ice user's, from his mother's genes, while the inside, where his quirk resides, is a fire user's, his father's genes. A really bad combination, in Izuku's opinion. Midoriya pushed the laptop back to make space for his notebook. He then flipped the pages of the book till he came to a blank one, Analysis of Endeavor Forgotten. Picking up his pencil once more, the boy began a new section in his book entitled Todoroki Toya. Bonus Scene. Izuku blinked sluggishly, setting his pencil down with a yawn. He had spent who knows how long finishing his analysis on Toya, and felt exhausted. Furthermore, the newfound hatred for the number 2 hero didn't help dwindle his fatigue. If anything, it made it worse. He didn't feel like moving, his limbs already feeling the toll of bone-deep exhaustion. Interlinking his fingers, Midoriya gave a small stretch before releasing his hands once more. His fingers wrapped around the back of his laptop before pushing it closed, bathing the room into darkness. The kid yawned once more, hand coming up instinctively to cover his mouth while his eyes shut. Finally, he turned his chair to stand up, and when his eyes reopened, he saw it. His window's curtains had a small hue to them, light seeping through the cracks. His heart dropped at the sight, whole body freezing for only a split second before he was shooting to his feet. The boy reached the window in no time, hands quickly wrapping around the soft curtains and pulling them apart. When he saw the mix of oranges and purples in the sky, along with the fading reminiscence of bright scattered stars, his heart somehow sank further. Head ducking in what could only be shame, the sleep-deprived 12-year-old sighed. "Not again," he groaned out. Alright, everybody, that concludes Part 4, Chapter 4 of Susurrus of the Subdued, SOS. Please make sure to check out the Discord if you haven't already, if you would like to get updates easier, get connected with people within the fanfiction community, make requests for a podfic, and more. The link to the server will be in the description. Now, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening.